Hello, everybody. Whether you're here now or you're watching after the fact, I welcome you so we can talk about a very important topic. It's very important because it's very real for us, isn't it? It's been 10 and a half months. We've been dealing with a pandemic and a lot of other very difficult things in here I know my American phenomenon of hard, right? And, things are looking up, but there's still this, it can really push the anxiety buttons for a lot of us, can it? So I thought today that I would talk about it. And how did I come to this topic? Because I was reflecting on what am I going to talk about this Monday? And then I skipped my going to bed practice, which is a very brief thing I do right before hitting the sack each night, and watched some disturbing movies and had a deadline approaching. And then I woke up in the morning feeling anxious. And I thought, aha, this is a great thing to talk about. So hard to know where to start, but we only have I want to be very concise here. We have a half an hour, and I really want to do some practice. I'll give you a little nugget practice that you can do anywhere. Doesn't require a text or anything, and bring it down a notch temporarily. And then let's talk about the long-term fixes for anxiety habit. Okay. So anxiety is usually about the future, even if it's like 5 minutes from now, or if we're thinking, in some level, we're thinking about what's going to happen to us. And somebody told me that once, and I thought, well, that's really interesting. And then sadness is more about things in the past. So anxiety has to do with that hope and fear thing about what's coming ahead. And where does it come from? Where does anxiety come from? I mean, we have lots of insights from modern psychology, including in the last 20 years or so, a lot of work with trauma and the somatic aspects, or the way that we keep trauma in our nervous system and brain imprinted there. So it seems to come up all the time, whether you have classical PTSD or not. Most people have some really big scare or a really harsh thing that happened to them in their lives. And there's wonderful, secular approaches. I feel really this is bodhisattva work. The somatic means body. People are connecting your body and your and past trauma, and without because talking about it in therapy wasn't really proven effective. Integrating with the body in a therapeutic setting was just really helpful. But I digress from our topic here. So the Buddha had one solution, one cause and one solution to all of our emotional problems. So let's talk about that. So for us right now, anxiety can come from our habits over countless lifetimes. It could be that we died in some fearful situation in our last life. It could be that it's just been our tendencies through many lifetimes that this anxiety habit is upmost. So if you're just born anxious, that would be viewed as the cause. So let's leave childhood trauma to the psychological experts. It's not so much addressed in Dharma directly, so indirectly for sure it is. So then, in the womb, if you first feel, you first have contact, your senses develop to the point you're a little nubbin there, first off, a little zygote, and just you have some kind of, we can say, there's there's a baby there, a little zygote, early fetus there. And I think that's called like nama rupa, name and form. And I'm talking then about the 12 links of interdependent origination, which is what brings about suffering and samsara. Samsara means this going around from lifetime to lifetime, never being released and bursting forth into awakening. instead of suffering with all these ills of embodied humanity, such as anxiety. Then, from the sense organs develop and you experience, maybe you hear some music coming in through your mom's belly. And there's a sense impression, music, or something's there, vibration is there. And then soon maybe a feeling comes along. Wow, when that vibration happens, I feel good, I feel happy. And then, you're born, you're growing up. It's the time frame for these things can be discussed in a lot of different ways. And then, of course, you want to reproduce that feeling of goodness, happiness. And so you're doing everything, trying to hold on to it, find that happiness, start playing that song over and over again. Eventually a song stops working and it's not making music, maybe isn't making you happy the way it used to. And your obsession with music develops a problem in another area of your life. And anyway, I'm just giving a random example of like how Buddha identified craving, and then what the ignorance that underlied it about this whole process and about reality itself. Who you are, what you're doing here on this planet. What is the planet? How do you, those and the fundamentals of truth about your situation here as an embodied sentient being. So the ignorance, desire, ignorance, and aversion, right? So you don't want what doesn't make you feel good. You feel uncomfortable. You get hot, and you try to avoid the heat, and this happens, and you never find a comfortable situation. So that's kind of craving, and then attachment, really getting hooked onto it, and onto the good stuff and avoiding the bad stuff, and just kind of stupidly just going around trying to problem solve all the time and strategize for how you're going to get what you want. And it never works. Long term, it's only a short-term solution, right? Praise to the short-term solutions, but everything changes all the time. And this is the reality of impermanence that we talk about in Dharma. Really getting that things are ending all the time. These things are beginning all the time. Things are changing all the time. And you're never going to be able to freeze the situation the way you want it. Isn't that terrible? So then from all this kind of stuff, this drama we call I or self emerges. Like we develop a really solid sense. I'm the one. I, Yudron, don't like, what don't I like? Olives. I am the person. I'm real. I don't like olives. I don't like, Donald Trump. I do like, Elizabeth Warren. I like those mittens on Bernie Sanders' hands. I like eating too much. I like certain music. I don't like this. And so this whole personality, which is fundamentally a lie. It has no basis. It's just like random. It comes up this I idea. And then out of that I idea, then if you have a predisposition to anxiety or something is threatening your desired future, and then you're going to have anxiety and fear. Fundamental, right? And so it's it's kind of tied in with aversion, I think. It's tied in with all three of the three poisons, duk sum in Tibetan. So how is this continued from moment to moment? Where there's this thing called namtok in Tibetan. I'm not remembering the Sanskrit term. And namtok is nam means, you can't really do a word by word translation because it's one word really, but Na means like very much so. Tok is conceptuality. So how does very much so conceptuality, which is translated as discursive thought, or just conceptuality or concepts, how does that relate to emotions? This is what I've been contemplating today and yesterday, which are very key questions in Buddhism. And I think we should talk about that over many episodes maybe, because it's how we connect with the Dharma through our emotions and how we're handling them. It's like it's our laboratory, for how we're experiencing the life and the Dharma, seeing what affects our mind and what doesn't affect our mind, really observing our minds is our thoughts and emotions, and seeing if we're practitioners of the Buddha Dharma, are they changing? Are they becoming pacified? Are we still really highly emotional? None of the therapies are working. None of the solutions that our society offers or anything is really cutting to it so that the same problem doesn't come up over and over again. So then we have to work with Dharma, which means truth, basically. And touch base with, starting reflecting on, this is going to be a short life. What are my priorities? If your priority as a Dharma practitioner is the long-term plan of I'm going to attain awakening, and if you're a Mahayana practitioner, I'm going to attain awakening, complete Buddhahood, so that I can benefit other living beings really vastly, much more vastly than I could as an ordinary person. I'm going to work towards that goal, either fast through Vajrayana and Dzogchen approaches, or becoming a yogi or a monk or a nun, or gradually cultivating virtue, beginning to connect with non-conceptuality, meditate through meditation, and so on. But if you really are serious, I'm trying to rehearse how to say this. I'm not intending to shame anybody. That's the last thing you need. Sorry, you're anxious because you really didn't get the Dharma. Yeah, so you're bad as well as troubled, right? No, that's not what I'm trying to do here. But we have to, if we want to. The good news is that by refocusing our attention on this long-term plan of waking up and deciding that's really what's most important to us, we can decide that, then all these anxiety about situational stuff, it's often about families. People I know I'm thinking about family conflict, disappointments, conflicts with other people, we were spouses and people we were close to. Of course, money and, survival issues. Fear, now currently fear of getting COVID for people who are very, vulnerable. In other words, fear of death and fear of being alone. So many fears. Slowly over time, if we can really gain confidence in the Buddha Dharma, I sound like a Bible thumper here, but it's really been true for me, so I got to tell you true. Those things become less important. Of course, they hurt, they're scary, but because they're not your be-all and end-all anymore as a practitioner, it just, all the energy is sucked out of that fear and dilemma. Katshe? Did I say your name right? Can you tell me more about that? What you're having happen right now? That'd be great. And so if we develop, this is called renunciation actually, And you see me sitting here in my nice house, statues behind me with a nice camera and so forth, and you think, well, that's not a renunciate, and renunciate is a monk and a nun. And you have an image of, or somebody sitting in a cave in dirty clothes, right? But that's only an outer appearance of renunciation. And it's very important. Monks and nuns are very important. Yogis are very important. But inwardly, we have to decide, do we believe, for example, in impermanence? Do we believe that fundamental things about Buddhism? Do we believe in a permanently existing self, or is it something less hard to grasp, and really maybe there isn't much there? Do we believe that things are exactly how we see them, and there's no other way to see them, and through our human eyes, and everything's really solid and real, unchangeable? Or do we believe that things are always in flux, impermanent, hard to pin down, dreamlike in some ways? So if we're shifting towards, instead of reading books about Dharma and as an object of study exclusively, or loving lamas, loving monks, loving nuns, admiring them externally, we decide, you know what, I'm really all in on Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And I'm going to start putting all my eggs in that basket, because what I've been doing up till now hasn't worked. You know what I mean? So let's, at least consider that. So we accept that there's things are impermanent, and really take the Dharma to heart, and we see that this floating around in cyclic existence over and over, lifetime after lifetime, is just completely essenceless. It's really pointless, ultimately. If you look at a lot of Dharma is about backing out of your situation, giving yourself perspective by looking at the global picture. What, over many lifetimes, how can I get out of this trap? Which is kind of like a kind of enforced stupidity. Or I keep thinking of QAnon. We may laugh at people who believe in conspiracy theories, and QAnon being one of the most absurd. And but here we are. We believe all these things about reality that aren't really true. From starting with, we not really accepting that we're going to die. And what if we just turned that all around and based our whole motivation on something else? Something that really is true and really works. And Buddhism has a tried and true track record. So then we focus on a long-term process of basically either training our mind, our regular cognitive mind, to be more positive, not believing so much untrue things and so forth, and not harming any sentient beings, trying to help sentient beings. And then on the other hand, where's I going? I'm aware that Kache has some questions coming in, or commentary. Oh yeah, or there's a point at which, like in the high level practices of Dzogchen, Mahamudra, even Madhyamaka, where we maybe we're no longer working with this cognitive quality. We're finding other kinds of consciousness, aspects of our consciousness coming forward that are more open, free, non-conceptual, really simple. And wisdom and compassion come forth. That's a kind of next level stuff. First, we start out by creating a positive mind, frankly, and one that is looking squarely at reality. So let me pause here and look at Kache. Alrighty. Kache, okay, a young 32-year-old friend cut and said she no longer wants our relationship. I have known her since she was 10 years old. 30 years. It's almost funny. 10 years old. That would be, the math doesn't add up there. It's almost funny. Well, yeah, so you're coming in, but you go to a place of fear with that. That's your reaction to when somebody's that you've been really close to. It's just like, it seems, I guess what you're saying is it seems unreal, right? How could this happen? 30 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever it's been. How can it possibly be that this person would just say, you're out? And then that creates anxiety because your world's turned upside down. Am I hitting the nail on the head? I hope so. Oh, I see. You're 70, and Kachi is saying she was she or he. I'm feeling a she here. That was 40 and now 70. Wow, it's a lot. And when we're older, well, I'm 62. New relationships are harder to form, aren't they? At least for me. You're more fussy about who you want to be friends with, and they're more fussy about you, and everybody seems to, it's hard to know where to meet up with other people, and change is scary. Yeah. So let's, oh gosh, it's already so late. I want to just go through a little practice. It sort of combines a lot of elements into one that you can do when to move away from anxiety while you're sort of bringing this, using your anxiety as a friend to remind you to bring all your experiences onto the cushion. So as they say, that means onto the meditation cushion, i.e., or your chair where you practice. Okay. So first, we just can mentally to reorient our mind in this way. Most Buddhist traditions use like visual images of the Buddha. I was just discussing this with somebody on a Facebook group today. If there's one or two traditions, small traditions, not that small, Nichiren tradition in Japan, they don't believe in representing the Buddha as a humanoid. But most traditions, they like to look at the Buddha, and many people in our society want to look at their garden statues, right? So first, the Buddha is, I think I'm orienting towards Buddhism, Buddha-ness, right? My own Buddha-ness, really, ultimately. As you go along the path, if you start out with Buddha's external, and there's maybe a monk that's representing the Sangha, and then over here there's these beautiful texts, and I go and I bow down to them, and that's really positive and really wonderful. And as you go along, it becomes more about your inner awakening as Buddha. So anyway, visualize whatever your favorite image is of enlightenment. And then maybe you can imagine bowing down, or do bow down. I have a Manjushri is always about to chop over here. On this side. And on this side is Saraswati, who is about to sound her sitar. Isn't that wonderful? So whatever, be it Manjushri, Saraswati, Buddha, Tara, Kuan Yin, imagine you're bowing down to them front and say, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Just be like that. Mentally saying it while you're on the bus. Fewer people are on the bus now than once were, but some people still are. Or while you're driving, just mentally take refuge. And to mark your decision that you're changing the direction in your life away from less, I won't say trivial concerns, but less important concerns than your own development as a practitioner. And then generate then, you know, maybe all stretching out across the earth are all the same kind of living beings. All the there's pools for the fishes and there's trees for the raccoons to climb in, but you see billions upon billions of living beings spread out all over a flat earth. Just imagine. So while the Buddha's still in front as your witness, you think, I'm going to attain awakening to really, really help all sentient beings. And then breathe in all of their suffering. Breathe out. Relaxed and open, spacious quality. The suffering and samsara can be viewed as kind of a black gooey or compressed kind of feeling, tone. And you can target one particular aspect of sentient being suffering or many, but today we're talking about anxiety. And I find when I'm having a mental state, broadening it out by remembering all the people in my neighborhood, all the animals in the world, you know, all experience anxiety. Right now, so many of them are experiencing anxiety. And just that very broadening really reduces anxiety. It's like counterintuitive. You think, okay, now I'm going to take on that anxiety for all living beings. I'm going to suck it all up, and then I'm going to let it out and relax and open all together. Just a few breaths will reorient you completely. And then the third step is just to meditate. And you can just sit nicely. It doesn't. I know when you're anxious, you don't really feel like sitting still for very long. It's okay. It can be short. And just one little technique from our tradition, the Nyingma tradition, I think, maybe mostly, is to put your consciousness is out in front here, and you're looking back at your own awareness, the knower that sort of monitors everything. You're then putting your consciousness outside, and you're looking back at that, wherever you imagine it being. And maybe you're looking, where is Yudron? Where is Lori? Where is Kache? Eyes open in the Bodhisattva tradition, usually, and then eyes closed in the early Buddhist Theravadan style, whatever you like. Looking back, you say, where is I? You can even look right through your body. Wait, where's I? Where's that important story I was just telling about myself? How anxious I was. Is it in my feet? Is it in my heart? Is it in my head? Just looking and looking. And in that spacious not finding of any there, you can look outwards into the outer universe, as they call it, into whatever's there on your desk or right through your computer. Look right through it like it's just nothing. It doesn't have to go away. It's just penetrable. How far would your gaze go if everything was completely, penetrable? You can gaze right through it. And then a friend of mine, a Facebook friend of mine, said that he's got PTSD and Asperger's and autism spectrum disorder and a lot of other things going on. And so he finds actually using the function of sound and speech, i.e. mantra, a simple mantra, really helps him manage. He's very, very sensitive to environment. So if he has to do something like going out to a store or something that's difficult and important, he does it in the morning, he gets it done. And he sets a lot of space on each side of the activity. So this is like if you're in a real flare-up of the anxiety, right? And I've been there. I think most of us have. So you don't pack things into your day, but you focus on getting one really big thing done in the morning, probably. But he mentioned starting with Tara. Do you know Tara, the Bodhisattva? Do a little Google search for T-A-R-A, Buddhist deity, you could say. She's all about helping us overcome all of our fears. That's her main function, especially green Tara. So you can look up green Tara. I didn't quite get it together to get a picture for our thing here today. But he mainly focuses on the sound because he finds that a lot of the sort of gateway into his nervous system for fear and anxiety is comes in through the ears, and this meant the hearing faculty, and that's where all that whole process, which is speeded up in us as adults, it's like it's ingrained in us. Like first, we hear something disturbing, and it maybe slide in if it's on the news or whatever, or somebody says it to us, and then we feel how it affects us, our feeling tone, and then we start to have the feelings of desire come up, or aversion to what is going into that sense. And then we're attached, and then there's craving or aversion, so it gets this gooey, sticky quality. But the way he works with that is making his own sound. At least it can be out loud, or it can be sort of mental recitation. It just feels like sound inside your consciousness. And he's using first the mantra of Tara. The root mantra of Tara is Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. Ture Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. So I'm going to sing that a little bit. If you want to sing along, you can. If not, if you prefer just chanting or silently thinking it, that's beautiful. Om Tare Tu Tare Ture Soha. 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 Then what he does is the mantra of Chenrezig or Avalokiteshvara, same as Kuan Yin. Om Mani Padme Hum, which is the great mantra of compassion. Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 You can say Om Mani Padme Hum, or sort of Sanskrit style, or you can say Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Either is okay. It's Tibetan style. And you can just sing for a while or chant the mantra. It's very beautiful. And if you find that anxious things are coming in through your eyes, through your visual sense, then definitely, get a picture of Tara or Chenrezig. If you're from a Chinese or East Asian tradition, you may be more accustomed to Kuan Yin, Bodhisattva. Get a picture of Kuan Yin or Avalokiteshvara or Chenrezig and memorize how they look. They're very simple. To get a simple one, I would say. Don't start with 1,000 armed Chenrezig unless you're really into that. And while you're reciting the mantra of Tara, green Tara, you can be looking, oh, Tari, tu, Tari, tu. So you can be looking at an image of Tara mentally in your imagination. And maybe she's sending out beams of light and is blessing you, relieving all your fear. I know I'm running over, but I have to tell a story by late Lama Wangdor. Not Lama Wangdu, Lama Wangdor of Sopema, India. And he came to my house and gave it a Tara empowerment, very simple one. And then he told a story that he was going along. The Himalayan mountains is where those Tibetans are from. He was going on a little narrow path with in a cart being pulled by a horse. And there was a driver up front. And somehow the trail gave way and he managed to jump free, and he stayed on the trail. But the whole cart and the horse and the driver went down, way, way down. Okay, one of those horrible moments. I'm talking about anxiety. Why am I? But as the driver was in the air, he's shouting, Aryatara! Cried out to Aryatara, Bodhisattva, that's ineffable essence. And so, Lama Wangdor goes to the edge and looks over, like expecting to see gnarled dead bodies and horses all mixed together, Horse gets up. Man gets up. Man waves. Okay? So you can just remember, Aryatara. Yell out. Totally. Yell it out when something bad happens, and she'll allay your fears. And sometimes, miracles are ascribed to the actual fearsome circumstance. But if our mind are unaffected, then it doesn't really matter as much whether we die in the valley and our horse or not, right? Because we're still on track with our long-term quest to benefit beings. Doesn't matter so much if we live or die. Easy to say, right? Okay, guys, so that's the practice, and then you dedicate merit, and if you memorize a dedication verse, it's fine, but also you can just imagine that this merit, this virtue that you've practiced, is being spread out. You're giving it away to all living beings. And then before you get up and run around, just settle for a moment, just relax there. Integrate the experience. All right, so that was like a 5-step process maybe, and you can apply it to your situation. I think it would even work. I started out in Dharma. Anxiety drove me to Dharma, honestly, 30 years ago. And I started out doing shamatha vipassana practice and the Kagyu style. That's harsh. It feels, everybody else likes mindfulness, kind of simple meditations, the formalists and so forth. It's when you're really having anxiety attacks, don't feel bad if that doesn't work for you. And using, it may not be the right medicine for the right situation. Hi, Maura. Thank you for saying hi. I'm glad it was helpful. Try this, because then you're bringing like a power pack, and you're not having to. Sometimes, if you're not used to meditating, that your stuff can permeate, come back in pretty quickly if you're just trying to sit in silence. And so use this power pack of many practices all wrapped up into one, the key Dharma program for Bodhisattvas. Alrighty, really great to see you. Please subscribe. Please like this video. It helps me reach more people. Sorry I ran over, but I'm glad the notes was helpful to at least some of you. All right, take care now. Have a great week, and I'll see you next week, I hope. I welcome ideas for, questions. All right, bye.